On the day of the family dinner, Liam ordered cake, which he never eats. On the way back from the dinner, a new Labubu keychain suddenly appeared on Liam's rearview mirror. Even Liam, who never wore cologne, now carried a faint, sweet fragrance. "Who else has been in the car?" I asked, fiddling with the keychain as I looked at Liam, who was focused on driving. "What's this?" The keychain let out a crisp jingle. Liam turned, took the keychain from my hand, and pulled a piece of candy from his pocket, placing it in my mouth. "The air is thick with your jealousy. Here, have some candy to sweeten you up a bit." It was orange-flavored candy. Liam never ate oranges, let alone candy. I glanced at the armrest box, now filled with all sorts of hard and soft candies. Then at Liam, who had suddenly taken a liking to bright colors. An indescribable feeling washed over me. This feeling lingered until we got home. Liam smiled as he hung the keys on the hook. I stared at the matching Labubu hook and finally couldn't hold it in any longer. "Liam, are you seeing someone?" I watched his expression freeze. I took the Labubu keychain off its hook. "You never used to like these things," I said, my gaze falling on his brightly colored jacket, including bright colors. Liam and I had been together for so long that I could read his every expression. Besides, this was a blatant provocation, an invasion of my territory. Seeing how serious I was, Liam actually laughed. "I knew you were jealous." His tone was light as he leaned in to hug me. I even made a bet with Sophie that my wife was too emotionally stable to fall for such a little trick. She insisted that any woman would be protective of her territory. Every woman has a possessive side, regardless of her personality or status, Liam murmured, his breath tickling my neck. "My dear, it's been a long time since you've been jealous like this. When you get jealous," he whispered, his lips brushing my neck, "I find it so incredibly lovely." I felt his hands begin to roam, but as they touched the Labubu keychain I was still clutching. I managed a small laugh of my own. "Which Sophie? Do I know her?" Liam's body stiffened, the explanation caught in his throat. I took in the scent of perfume on him that didn't belong in our home and looked at his feigned expression of helplessness. I opened my secretary's social media page and said, "The new secretary." "Yes," Liam said. "She's also your junior from university. When she interviewed, she held your thesis and spoke of you with such admiration. She reminded me of you." I sat on the bed, looking at Liam's sleeping face. I remembered how he had started to initiate something more intimate, but then stopped himself. A strange restraint. I remembered the flicker of tenderness in his eyes when he mentioned Sophie. I knew I shouldn't, but I opened the chat log between them. Their conversations were simple. Besides work, it was mostly Liam asking Sophie for advice on how to make me happy. Sophie was like a treasure chest of ideas, and everything I had seen recently was her suggestion to him. The knot in my chest loosened. I was just starting to feel guilty for my suspicions when a new message popped up in Liam's TikTok DMs. "Did you pull it off? Praise me. Aren't I the best?" Liam never used TikTok. I clicked on it instinctively and saw a message from a girl with the same profile picture as Sophie on his other social media. "You'd be in big trouble if it weren't for me. You'd probably be getting kicked out of the house naked tonight. But don't worry. My arms are always open for you." My heart seized. My fingertips trembled as I held the phone. Sophie was still typing. "You promised you wouldn't be a scumbag about this, right? Quick, send me a picture. What are you doing? Why aren't you replying?" The barrage of messages made my head spin. I scrolled up and saw an earlier message from Sophie. "Well, just clean up our social media chats, and she'll never find out." I don't really like secret relationships, but I have to admit, they have their own thrill. Then I'll just keep up the act of having a boyfriend, and she'll have no reason to suspect. I watched as Sophie coached Liam, and he just replied with praise. "My Sophie is so clever. Where else could I find a girl as sweet as you? I'm so lucky." By the end, tears blurred my vision, falling onto the screen and into my heart. Liam's arm wrapped around my waist, just as he had countless nights before. He snuggled his head close, pressing his whole body against me as if for security. As if nothing had changed. As if none of this had happened. Just as Liam had assured that Sophie, "As long as my wife doesn't find out, anything goes." I thought our love was stronger than gold. It turned out to be nothing but my own wishful thinking. I picked out my most professional suit from the closet and went to the office, a place I hadn't visited in a long time. When the employees saw me and greeted me as ma'am, I walked straight to Liam's office. His once minimalist space had been transformed into a prince's playground. Labubu dolls and keychains were everywhere, screaming of the new occupant's girlish tastes. I was toying with a doll when the office door opened, and a woman's bell-like laughter rang out. Liam. Then, the sound stopped abruptly. I met her eyes. She was young, beautiful, with skin so fair it seemed flawless. Her doe-like eyes trembled slightly when she saw me. I studied her carefully, saying nothing. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. The moment Liam returned from his meeting, they spilled over. Ma'am, I haven't done anything. I didn't, she sobbed, as if I had bullied her mercilessly. You don't have to stare at me like that. Your eyes scare me. I haven't done anything wrong. I guessed she already knew that the person who had read her messages last night wasn't Liam. She had anticipated my arrival and was staging the scene to get Liam on her side. I watched him rush over, his eyes flickering with pain as he saw Sophie's tears. Then he turned to me. What's going on here? Liam and I had been together for 10 years. In all that time, he had never been anything but gentle and patient with me. This was the first time his tone was so accusatory. And for a moment, I was at a loss. The moment I stepped closer, the girl grabbed Liam's arm and whispered an apology. Mr. Henderson, please tell your wife. There's nothing going on between us. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't seduce you, and am not trying to steal you from her. I really didn't. Mr. Henderson, she choked out. I don't want to be wronged like this for no reason. Her crying was pitiful enough to move anyone. Liam immediately connected this to my strange behavior at the family dinner and looked at me with disapproval. Charlie, I already explained to you that Sophie and I have a purely professional relationship. The commotion had drawn a crowd. People started whispering. The wife is here to give Sophie a hard time. I guess successful people always attract trouble. The boss probably just took extra care of her since she's his wife's junior from university. And it got misunderstood. Married women are so scary these days. They think their husbands are their property, like they can't have any freedom. This is exactly why I'm terrified of marriage. The thought of my future wife embarrassing me like this is horrifying. Gossip can be a weapon. In the past, Liam was always the first to defend my reputation. When someone at school mocked me for being an orphan, he would be the one to stand up for me. Now, we stood on opposite sides, and he just looked at me with a helpless expression. Charlie, can't you just learn to trust me? Sophie is very innocent. Don't project your own ideas onto her. She's done nothing wrong. I watched Sophie peek out from behind Liam, a triumphant, provocative glint in her eyes. I truly didn't understand how she was innocent. And even if she wasn't, Liam was even less so. The gossip, his misunderstanding was all her doing. I smiled and walked up to Liam. In front of him and everyone else, I slapped Sophie across the face. Now, this is not being innocent. I watched her stare in shock, clutching her face as she let out a scream. Then, I turned and slapped Liam. Liam, I don't tolerate filth in my life. As for who is innocent, we both know the truth. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, his eyes blazing. What do you mean by that? I looked back at him, finding the situation laughable. He was the one who did wrong, not me. How did he have the nerve to ask me what I meant? I yanked my hand away. Before you question me, I said, pointing at his heart. Ask yourself first. Then I looked at Sophie. You owed me that slap. I left the company, sitting with my group of friends. They all raged on my behalf. They cursed the ambitious college grad, called Liam's promise of eternal love a sham, and lamented how foolish I had been to pour my life into one man. I just stared blankly at a text from an unknown number. It was a taunt. You know, don't you? You know about Liam and me. Since you know, why are you still clinging to him? You're just after his money and status. Let me tell you, the one in his heart is me, not you. You'd better back off soon. Before that, Liam had messaged me on a social platform. Charlie, you went too far this time. You need to reflect on your actions. To make up for your mistake, I'm taking the company out for dinner. I won't be home tonight. I looked at the messages from Liam and Sophie, sent one after the other, and couldn't help but laugh. I laughed so hard I showed the messages to my friends. I want a divorce. Do any of you know a good lawyer? It's not that I hadn't considered it. I thought maybe Liam had just lost his way for a moment. We had been together for so many years. We knew each other like we knew our own bodies and souls. I loved Liam, and I believed he loved me. So, even after discovering his betrayal, I chose to give him a chance and myself a chance. I wanted to repair our relationship, but I never imagined he would stand in front of another person and defend her unconditionally. Sophie asked to meet, and she got straight to the point. What will it take for you to leave Liam? He doesn't love you anymore, she said, her face beaming with the smile of a victor. Do you know what he said about you? She played a video, clearly filmed in secret. It was Sophie asking Liam, after 10 years together, do you really still have feelings for her? Liam answered without hesitation. Of course not. Half the time, sex between us is just a chore. You have no idea how painful it is to touch Charlotte's body and force myself to react. It's like touching a slab of dead meat. It's agonizing, but I can't show it. We've been together for 10 years. After all, then why are you still with her? Liam's expression flickered with hesitation. Responsibility, I guess. 10 years is a long time. It's too hard to start over and build a new relationship. I don't want to. A wife is just a title. My heart is my own, Liam said, his eyes filled with desire as he looked at Sophie. And my body is my own. My body tells me it loves you. I watched the video of Liam and Sophie, a combustible mix. I heard his assessment of me. Even though I had prepared myself, the words still pierced my heart like a dagger. Pain wrapped around me like vines, nearly suffocating me. Liam is in misery every day he's with you. Can you please let him go? I'm begging you. I looked at Sophie's youthful face, filled with the longing and courage of love. I saw a reflection of myself 10 years ago, willing to risk everything for a future with Liam. Now, the string I had been holding onto so tightly finally snapped. I looked at Sophie, then tapped the dark screen of my phone on the table, revealing that it was on an active call. I asked Liam, so, that's how worthless I am in your eyes? I watched the smile freeze on Sophie's face, her eyes widening in disbelief, suppressing the storm in my heart. I smiled at her. Since you two are so deeply in love, so inseparable, how could I not grant you your wish? I told Liam, I've already prepared the divorce papers. All they need is your signature. Liam, you're not going to back out now, are you? When Sophie had asked to meet, I had already called Liam. He was convinced his innocent girl was pure and naive, and even defended her to me. He didn't believe Sophie was ambitious or two-faced. Just like years ago, when everyone else mocked me, he always stood by my side, always believed in me. There was a long silence on Liam's end. Just as I was about to hang up and leave, I heard his urgent voice call my name. Charlie. Don't go, Liam said. Let's meet. I have no interest in meeting you. After all, I said, right in front of Sophie. It's rather dirty. I stood up, paid for my coffee, and looked at Sophie. Since you think you're so skilled at handling men, then you can have my second-hand goods, Liam. As for me, I'm done playing this game. Then, to Sophie's utter shock, I picked up my coffee and threw it in her face. The splash seemed to snap her out of her stupor. She lunged at me, grabbing my hand. Charlotte, you play dirty. I looked at this young face, now twisted with a cunning that didn't belong to her age, and offered a piece of advice. If you want to play dirty with me, you're out of your league. What do you call this? I said, drawing out my words. It's called hoisting yourself on your own petard. Then, I shook her hand off. Just as I was about to leave, I saw Liam rushing into the cafe. His eyes met mine, and he started to explain. But I cut him off with a cold warning. Get out of my way. At the same time, Sophie ran up to him, crying, Liam. She threw coffee on me. She pointed at her drenched state. You promised that if I was ever exposed, you would protect me. If she dares to do this today, she'll dare to hit me tomorrow. I watched Liam's expression shift, and I laughed. I turned and slapped Sophie across the face. Since you asked for it, I'll grant your wish. Charlie. A struggle crossed Liam's face. Finally, he said to me, she's innocent. It's all my fault. Can we please go home and talk about this? I didn't want to get entangled with him any longer. I've already drafted the divorce papers. If you have any issues, you can speak with my lawyer. Go home. This time, I truly laughed. Liam, the moment you decided to betray our relationship, we no longer had a home. 10 years ago, A penniless Liam proposed to me with a ring pull tab. He told me, "Charlie, I may have nothing now, but that doesn't mean I want in the future. Trust me, I'll give you a good life." That year, Liam's eyes were full of a young man's stubbornness and fiery love. I was consumed by it, like a moth drawn to a flame, willingly betting everything on him. I agreed without hesitation. "Liam, I trust you." 10 years passed in a flash. And now, to hear him speak of me, all that was left was responsibility. How could it not hurt? The boy I loved so fiercely, the youth we shared, watching each other grow and mature, only to drift further and further apart. At 18, Liam swore to love me for a lifetime. At 28, Liam said I was just a responsibility. And now, who is this performance for? I watched Liam's pained expression as Sophie cried and demanded he give her an answer. He just looked at me. "Charlie, you can't leave me." So that was it. In his eyes, I had always been the one who depended on him for survival. I looked at Liam with a calmness that surprised even myself. "Whether I can or can't leave is not for you to decide, Liam. Who I choose, what kind of life I live, it was never because of you. I chose you, and you became you. If I hadn't chosen you, you would just be an ordinary man." As I left, I heard Liam wearily trying to calm Sophie down, and I heard her shout after me, "Charlotte, you've lost." I didn't care about winning or losing anymore. When my friend was helping me pack, she saw the Labubu keychain at the entrance and scoffed as she took it down. "Since when did Liam get into this junk?" I was packing my things and looked up at the keychain. The irony was bitter. "That's what Sophie likes." My friend immediately dropped it as if it were contaminated. Scumbag and a homewrecker. How disgusting. I opened the safe in the bedroom. Inside was the pocket watch my father had left me. I wanted to take the only thing I had left of my parents, but I found that the photo inside was gone. My breath hitched. I turned the entire safe upside down, but the photo was nowhere to be found. My hands started to shake uncontrollably. I opened the feed from the security camera I had installed before my business trip. I saw Sophie redecorating my home like an amusement park, then ransacking my bedroom. Finally, she held up the safe and asked Liam, "Liam, what's in here?" I watched Liam, who was working in the study, gently pull her onto his lap. "Just some unimportant things." Sophie whined until he opened it. She took out the pocket watch, smiling coquettishly. "I just want to have a look." I watched her leave the study with the watch. I watched her hide in the bathroom, tear the photo to shreds, and flush it down the toilet. I watched her go back to Liam and pretend it was an accident. And I watched him, unable to bring himself to scold her. Just be more careful next time." Then, the recording ended. I was trembling with rage. I could tell myself I had decided to let go, to start over. I could tell myself I had accepted that the man I had gambled everything on no longer loved me. But I could not bring myself to calmly accept this. When I stormed into his company, Liam was at his desk. His eyes lit up when he saw me, thinking I had come back to reconcile. He put on a superior air. "Have you thought things through?" He sat in his chair, looking down on me. "I knew you." The next second, I had grabbed the laptop from his desk and smashed it over his head. It crashed to the floor with a loud bang. Liam finally snapped out of it. "Are you insane?" I didn't have time to answer. Sophie rushed in and stood protectively in front of him. "How dare you hit him? Charlotte, apologize to Liam right now, or I won't let you get away with this." I saw a flicker of emotion in Liam's eyes. In the next moment, I grabbed the ashtray from the desk and slammed it on Sophie's head. She screamed as I dragged her down and threw her to the floor. Liam started to intervene, but my friends, who had just arrived, held him back. They all looked at him with utter contempt. "You're an animal," one of them shouted. At the same time, I slapped Sophie again. "You dare touch my parents' heirloom." Liam's expression froze. Another friend punched him in the face. "If you didn't cherish Charlie, why couldn't you just let her go cleanly?" I slapped Sophie again. "I can tolerate your provocations. You like Liam so much. Fine. You can have him. But you never, ever should have touched what wasn't yours." Sophie wailed and cursed at me. I couldn't hear a thing over the sound of my own rage. Amid her screams, I heard my friends yelling. It was the only thing Charlie had left to remember them by. "And you had to destroy it. Are you even human?" In the end, we all ended up at the police station. Sophie pointed at me. "I want to press charges, officer." She assaulted me. Her face was swollen like a pig's as she sat there, berating me. She broke into my boyfriend's office and attacked both of us. I want her to go to jail. Liam was silent the entire time. His eyes locked on me. I listened to Sophie's tirade and found it amusing. Before I could speak, my friend explained the whole story and slapped our marriage certificate on the table. Since when did the mistress get to stand in front of the legal wife and call him her boyfriend with such confidence? The officer, understanding the situation, looked at Sophie with disgust and told her to be quiet. Then he turned to me. Regardless, the fact is you assaulted her. If she presses charges and there's enough evidence, it will become a stain on your record, he told me. Finally, he looked at Liam. It would be best to settle this privately. Liam, who had been silent, finally looked up. He took in the chaotic scene and then looked at Sophie, sitting across from me. Can you sign the settlement agreement? He asked. His voice was flat, devoid of any emotion. If you sign it, I'll agree to the divorce. Hearing his words, which were framed as a way to help me, I let out a cold laugh. My friend was my mouthpiece. What's with the act? Where was this attitude before? You didn't sound like this when you were all over each other. Don't be disgusting with this devoted act now. Liam's face went pale. Finally, he looked at me. Whether you believe me or not, I never wanted to hurt you. He took out the divorce agreement he had refused to sign. As long as you get her to sign the settlement and leave Charlotte alone, I'll sign for the divorce. The agreement we had been deadlocked over for more than a month was finally signed. Sophie held it up like a trophy, waving it in my face. I told you I would win, Charlotte. From now on, Liam is all mine. I looked at her smug face, then at Liam's defeated one, and threw one last line at them. I hope you two are locked together for eternity. I left the station with my friends. After packing up the rest of my things, I quickly finalized the division of our assets. Then, I started my new career and new life. I chose a small town I liked, bought a building, and began renovating it into a bed and breakfast. My friends invested with me, and for a while, life was peaceful. I hadn't thought about Liam in a long time. No one mentioned him anymore. On the day the BB opened, my friend invited several influencers to create some buzz, as well as some well-known travel bloggers for a trial stay. We were incredibly busy when someone tapped me on the shoulder. Charlotte. I turned and saw a young woman's face light up with surprise. I'm a few years behind you at university. She sat in the courtyard, and I brought her a cup of coffee. I was so impressed when I heard about your accomplishments back then. I read so many of your papers. You're my idol. To follow in your footsteps. I started my own social media channel, and I've become a little well-known. Then, her tone shifted. The thing is, I had all this research on you, but my classmate stole it from my drawer. I was so mad when I confronted her. She even bragged that my idol was single because of her. People still talk about your love story with the top scholar, the girl said, her voice softening. Charlotte, I owe you an apology. A memory tugged at me, pulling me back to that day when Liam had told me with a smile. She really admires you. She's your little fangirl. The day she came for the interview, she even brought your thesis. You could tell she was serious. That's why I hired her. I made an exception. For my wife's sake. Anyone who likes my wife must have good taste. Liam's smile was so gentle then, as if he was truly proud that someone admired me. Now, the junior showed me Sophie's social media feed. But how long can stolen things last? Thieves always get their karma. Sophie's posts were no longer as vibrant as they used to be. They were filled with gloomy complaints. When someone asked what was wrong, she would just reply bitterly. Some people disappear but still find ways to trip me up. Utterly disgusting. I didn't know if I was some people. Then my friend suddenly said, Charlie, there's a lion dance outside. Did you hire them? My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't hired a lion dance, nor had I invited any influencers. I thought it was all my friends doing. But when I rushed to the entrance, I saw him standing in the crowd. Liam. He had shed the bright colors he had been so fond of and was back in his minimalist style. Even the perfume was gone, replaced by the fresh scent of his body wash. He walked up to me, his smile as gentle as it was 10 years ago, when we first got together. Congratulations, Liam said. You always wanted to open a BB but gave up your dream for me. Now, you've finally achieved it. I never thought I would see Liam again. I had imagined what it would be like if we did, but I never expected to feel so calm. As if I were looking at a stranger, I invited him into the courtyard. As he sat, his eyes greedily drank in the whole BB before settling back on me. His praise undisguised. "You always had a talent for design. I can see how much heart you've poured into this." The junior sitting beside us couldn't help but snort. "Even so, some people are blind." "Oh, by the way," she said, outing Sophie without a second thought. "The materials Sophie used for her interview were stolen from me. She never really admired you. I was the one who admired you. If she really admired you, why would she steal your partner? She would only wish for her idol's happiness." The junior lifted her chin. "Like me." I saw the color drain from Liam's face. He looked at me in disbelief. I just gave a slight nod. "The exception you made was just her scheme. But I should thank her," I told him. "Otherwise, I wouldn't have the freedom I have today. I really like my life now." The lion dance outside was lively. My friends weren't happy to see Liam, but he was a guest, so they didn't say much. Liam stayed at the BB for half a month, always finding ways to be near me, trying to bring up the past. He talked about our high school, our university. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said. "Looking back, it all feels like a dream. I just never thought I would be the one to shatter such a beautiful dream with my own hands." Charlie. He was desperate for an answer. If I knew I was wrong, or if we could do it all over again, and I had rejected the temptation, would we still be like we were before? I looked at his face, the face I had loved for 10 years, and remembered the time right after I learned of his betrayal. I had also wondered where we went wrong. Was I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Do all men have moments of weakness? Should I reflect on myself? Should I tolerate the mistake that all men supposedly make, paper over the cracks, and continue as a couple in name only? After all, to everyone else, we were the perfect couple. To truly cut Liam out of my life was like carving a piece of flesh from my own heart. The pain was so intense that I almost gave up several times. But now, looking at him, I could say with complete calm, "No, Liam," I said, "there are no what-ifs in life. Everyone has to pay the price for their choices." I thought I had been clear enough, but Liam's eyes suddenly reddened. He grabbed my wrist, demanding, "Charlie, is there really no chance for us? I don't believe you could forget our years together just like that." Looking at him was like looking at myself during that period of inner turmoil. I advised him, "Let it go." The moment the words left my mouth, a sharp cry came from the entrance. "Liam, I knew you'd come looking for her." I saw a furious Sophie, her hand raised to strike me. I took a step back, and her hand landed squarely on Liam's face. Sophie stared at her hand, then at Liam, then started screaming at me. "You bitch. You chose the divorce. So why won't you let Liam go? You're already divorced. How long are you going to keep seducing him?" I listened to her shouts as a crowd gathered in the courtyard. I watched Liam try to calm her down. "That's enough. Stop making a scene." But Sophie was relentless. "Oh, so you regret it already? Just a short while after the divorce. You are so shameless," she screamed, raising her hand to hit me again. "Seducing other people's husbands. You tramp." But before her hand could fall, my junior rushed forward and slapped her. "Who are you calling a tramp? You stole my work to get a job and then stole my idol's man." "My idol is forgiving, but am not so nice." The junior slapped her again. "The fact that you stole my thesis is undeniable. When you were applying for that job to steal someone's husband, did you mention that your university diploma is fake?" Sophie's face went completely white. She looked at the junior, then at the crowd of people pointing and whispering. "I thought this was about catching a mistress, but it's the mistress who drove out the wife. The scumbag who regrets it. And now the mistress is causing a scene. I've been here for a while, and the owner is a really nice person." One of the guests said to me, "Miss, I'm on your side. What right does a homewrecker have to scream like this? Aren't you ashamed?" The voices that had once defended Sophie now turned on her like boomerangs. "Get lost. Don't embarrass yourself here." Including Liam. I've seen this dog of a man trying to get close to the owner for a while now. I thought something good was about to happen. I must be blind. Cheating is a zero-tolerance issue. What right do you have to ask her to forgive you? Exactly. I'm disgusted just looking at you. Liam was humiliated. But Sophie, her face flushed, tried to argue. Love doesn't have a first come, first served rule. There's no such thing as a mistress in love. The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. Liam loves me, so am not the mistress, she shrieked, pointing at me. She is. She is not. Liam, who had always defended Sophie, suddenly sounded like his 18-year-old self again. I don't love you, he said, publicly humiliating her. I was just chasing a thrill. If I truly loved you, I wouldn't have let you hide in the shadows like a rat. When I love someone, I want to give them the best. He looked at me. The biggest regret of my life is hurting Charlie. Every time I went back to our home, I felt like your shadow was in the air, and I regretted not cherishing you, for letting you go. You were never my responsibility. You are the love of my life. I looked at him, and his image overlapped with the 18-year-old Liam. That day, after our high school graduation, Liam stood on the stage as the top scholar of the province, holding a microphone, and announced to the entire school, "There's only one person I want to thank, and that's Charlotte." His eyes were so bright they lit up my entire world. "Charlotte, congratulations on our graduation. You promised me that if we got into the same university, we could change our status," Liam said. "Can you fulfill your promise now?" That summer, the whole school erupted in cheers. Even the teachers applauded our relationship, encouraging me to go to him. I looked at the fire in his eyes, watched his youthful face gradually mature, and as he returned to his 28-year-old self, I told him, "I never go back for seconds." My friend interrupted mercilessly. "Could you two drama queens please not interfere with our business? Get lost." Liam and Sophie were driven away. I haven't heard any news about them in a long time. I don't know if they ended up together. But thanks to my junior's branding of me as an independent woman, I became a blogger with millions of followers. My friend and his BB became an instant hit. Bookings are constantly pouring in. My friend and I sat in the courtyard, sipping tea. She looked at the recent profits and smiled. "Investing with you was the best decision I've ever made." I looked at her and smiled back. "No, thank you, for always choosing me."